Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to AJ103 Criminal Evidence Online. My name is Tony Farrar, and I'm going to be your instructor for this fall 2019 semester. So, tonight is going to be a lecture on the course syllabus, but before we get started on that, just a little bit of information about myself. I've been in law enforcement for a little over 34 years, spending the last 5 years as the chief of police for the City of Rialto Police Department in San Bernardino County. Now, with that being said, I've pretty much worked every assignment in a police department that there is to work, with the exception of canine officer. So I have a lot of good information to share regarding the structure of organizations, um, what policing is all about, how do you get hired, how do you pass some of the tests, what's the academy like, all that kind of stuff. So please feel free to use me as a resource, and I will do whatever I can to ensure that you are successful in your endeavors, if this is in fact the career that you choose, and I certainly hope that it is. Now, with that being said, on the education side, I have a master's degree in police science, a second master's degree or MBA in business administration, and a third master's degree in criminology, which is my favorite subject, by the way, from the University of Cambridge, in all places, England. And it was a super exciting opportunity and really cool to go to college over in England. Different type of learning experience, and perhaps we'll have some time later on to talk a little bit about that. But for now, I know that you're just raring and ready to go to jump into this syllabus review because it is so awesome, that we're going to go ahead and do that. So let's just jump right in and get going on our syllabus review. So again, this is criminal evidence. It's AJ 103. The section number is 3692. This is the fall 2019 semester, and of course, it is the online version of the class. Now, down below here, I have some information on myself, including the fact that I'm located on the Menifee campus. I have my telephone number, my office number here, should you need to reach me. I also have a couple of additional contact pieces of information, if you will. The first is my email address. And then the second is I have a Twitter account. It's at Professor Farrar. Either one of those are good to contact me. Email is probably best. And if you do decide to use the Twitter account, just understand that I've just kind of got that up and going, and I'm not quite as good with tweeting, if you will, as I am with email. So give me a little extra time if you're going to use that method of communication. So below that, I have a couple of links to some important things. The first is the MSJC Criminal Justice Club. This is a link to their Facebook. We have a active club on both the Menifee and the San Jacinto campuses, and this is a great organization for students to get together that are either interested in criminal justice or pursuing a career in criminal justice, or to have a study group, or to go do field trips, etc. But there's a link to their Facebook page where you can learn a little bit more information, and I've also included some information on the club in your course Canvas shell, so you can access that as well. The next link is to the CE website, and this is important because it will take you to some information and some videos that will help you determine whether or not you believe that you're ready for an online class. There are some students that typically believe that online courses are a little bit easier, but they also, whether that's true or not, I really don't know, but they do require you to be a lot more diligent when it comes to remembering due dates and getting assignments turned in and things like that. So that will help you make a determination on your fit as far as being an online student, especially if you're a first-time online student. And if you are, welcome, but that's a great place to go and get some more information. So moving on, looking at some office hours. Again, I'm on the Menifee campus. I'm on the second floor of the 900 building. and the office number is 961. My daytime office hours are on Tuesday and Thursdays. You can see right here. And then for online classes, I'm available always on Wednesday and Thursday nights from 7:30 to 9:30. But if you email me, I'm pretty much always available. I will do everything I can to get back to you as quickly as I can if you email me with some type of issue, question, or what have you. Now, with that in mind, if you do email me, please do me a favor and use this header in the name of the subject line of your email. So I have an example here using my name, Farrar Aj103 3692 criminal evidence. Now, the reason for this is because I teach several sections of several classes. Sometimes I can't remember which class or section students are in. So if you put that header in there, it will alert me a lot quicker to what class you're in, and then I can get that information and get it back to you in a more expedient fashion other than trying to search and figure out what class you're in. So that would definitely help me out if you could do that. And also, please keep in mind that all emails should be from your MSJC email account. Don't use your personal accounts unless you just absolutely have to. Also, if you are requested to submit a written assignment in Canvas, and you will be, please submit it in Microsoft Word, because if you send it to me in another word processing format like WordPerfect or something else, there's no guarantee that I'll be able to open it and no guarantee that I will be able to read it. Therefore, there's no guarantee that I'll be able to grade it. So that would be wonderful if you could help me out with that. And also, if you don't know how to set up your email, please contact the college help desk for assistance. Now, one quick note here before we move on to this area in red. Also, what would be very helpful is that you set up whatever electronic device you typically use for getting messages or emails, whether it's your phone, computer, or both, that you make sure that you set those up and have them linked to the class Canvas, to the announcements area. So that way, if I do send something out, you'll be able to get it immediately, and that will definitely be beneficial. So the area in red. So just kind of a notation here that the syllabus is somewhat of a living document, meaning that it is subject to change sometimes during the semester. I typically don't do that, but there have been times where you never know, you may have to make a change. And of course, if I do make any type of change, I will make sure that you are notified what that change is, when it will take place, and I will do that via email or an announcement in Canvas. Again, if you have any questions about the course, please feel free to email me direct or post them in the discussions area, and we'll talk more about the discussions area in a little bit, but there will be an open discussion forum area where you can post something. It's called the Donut Shop. Yeah, go figure. But anyway, that will be an area that you can post a question, and if another student can't answer it, I certainly will jump in there and answer it for you. So what is this class that we've enrolled in tonight? Well, criminal evidence. And this course is going to provide you with knowledge and theory regarding criminal evidence as it relates to the criminal justice field, including the use of evidence in criminal cases and the basic rules of evidence in both state and federal courts. So you even have two different court systems in this course that we're going to deal with, because certain things might be acceptable or allowable in federal court, certain items of evidence, whereas in state court, they may not be acceptable. And then there's a rule, there's a set of rules, they call it, it's the rules of evidence on what can be accepted or submitted or allowed in, or whatever word you want to use, into certain different types of cases on how you present things. And we're going to learn all about that stuff and how that might impact you as a law enforcement officer. So a lot of information that we're going to take in this semester, and we hope that at minimum, that when you're all done with the class, that you will be able to examine or look at various types of evidence and the rules regarding things like testimony, meaning like, can anybody testify at any time and the jury has to accept the testimony? Or writings like letters or material objects. So, we're going to look at these various types of evidence, and we're going to evaluate the admissibility of them, or in some cases, the consequences of inadmissibility. If we can't get something into evidence, then can we keep going with our case, or does the case just go away because now we don't have it? And then we're also going to kind of take a look at or analyze the adversarial process in the presentation of evidence and court cases. If you don't know this, court systems, the process of the prosecution and the defense, it's called adversarial because they're kind of against each other. That's the rationale for adversarial. So there is a process in the presentation of evidence, and we're going to look at the different roles that the prosecutor might play, or the defense counsel might play, or the judge and even the jury. What roles do each one of these pieces have in this process? And then finally, again, even though we're going to learn a lot more, we hope to examine, take a really good look at the historical and ethical development of the rules of evidence. How did this all come to be? And then evaluate their application in state and federal court. So an example of a rule of evidence, let's just throw something out there. Polygraphs. Are they admissible in court? If they are, why? If they aren't, why not? That would be something that the courts would determine, and they have determined, and we'll find that out. You'll learn that actually as we go through this particular course. So we're going to learn that through the use of a lot of different things and readings and case studies, but we're going to look at the textbook. So the title is Criminal Evidence. It's the 8th edition. It's a very easy to read book. The author is fantastic, and I think you'll find it very, very interesting. It is available at the San Jacinto and the Menifee bookstores, but I'm sure that all of you have purchased books before, and you probably know better where to pick up a book at. Because it's not a brand new book, the cost won't be that bad, but it is one of the better books that are out there as it relates to criminal evidence. Now, you can get the ebook if you prefer. I really don't care, but here's my pitch for the book. These lectures, online lectures, and even my face-to-face classes, the typical lecture is 45 to 60 minutes. And with that being said, because there is a lot of information given out during these lectures, sometimes it's very difficult to get all of the information in that short period of time. Therefore, one of the ways to help fill the gaps or fill in the missing pieces for case studies and the lectures and things like that would be to read the chapter in the textbook. So it's very, very important that you get the textbook. Again, the version really doesn't make a difference, whatever you like better, but it does help add context to a lot of the things that we are going to be covering. So that's just my pitch for the textbook. Enough about that, and we'll move on. Next, we'll talk about something that's optional, and honestly, you really don't need to get it. So this is the California Penal Code. We have it listed as an optional book. If you have it, great. If you don't panic. So the Penal Code is not the primary book, but we are going to be referring to the book from time to time. The Penal Code is that list of California codes, the statutory laws and punishments for anything that is a law, if you will. So for California, anything that's a law has to be written down. It needs to be statutorily written, and it needs to have a punishment, where the Penal Code, that's what it is. So we're going to be referring from this book from time to time because we will be talking about different codes. But if you don't have a copy, again, don't worry. You can access the information online. I have a link there to legalinfo, legislature.ca.gov, which is a website where you can get all the California codes, or you can use your favorite search engine, whether it's Google, Bing, or Yahoo, or whatever, and you should be able to pull up any code as long as you put the code number and California. So if you're going to type in the space, you could put like California Penal Code 187, and then you would hit enter and it would give you the code for murder. So that's how you would put that in the search engine. So with that being said, let's talk about how do I check into the class, and how is the class kind of formatted and laid out. So because this is an online course, it's going to open a week early. So I'm going to open the class on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 at 5 p.m. Now, face-to-face courses, which this is not one of them, they start on the 12th. But I'm going to open this class on the 7th because typically the online courses, my courses, run from Wednesday at 5 to the following Tuesday at 11 p.m. So while it's going to be kind of a short week, but it's going to be a week anyway. But it's going to open on Wednesday, August 7th at 5 p.m. And it'll close, like I mentioned, on the 13th. And we'll talk more about that later. But during that time, I want you to take the time to complete discussion board number 1, because this is your official check-in for the class. So if you fail to complete the check-in, it's going to result in you being dropped from the course. This is how I know that you're actually in the class. You need to check in. You may be registered and you'll show on my roster, but unless you actually check into the online part, which is the discussion board, I'm not going to be able to let you in the course. So that's really important. So that's part 1 of what you need to do during that time frame. The second part is of the check-in procedure is you're going to need to complete a very short 10-question syllabus quiz, and this quiz is graded. Now, if you read the syllabus, which I'm going to just post as a PDF document in your Canvas, in your course Canvas, or if you listen or watch, what you're doing right now, at least what I hope you're doing, is watching the syllabus review, the video version, you're going to totally ace that syllabus quiz, and it's not a big deal. What it really does is show me that you've read through the syllabus and you're able to answer a couple of questions about some of the larger components of the syllabus. So that, I hope that makes sense. So with that being said, we'll kind of move on to the course guidelines. So this is somewhat of a fast-paced course. It's got some reading and some information that you need to do weekly. And to be successful, you need to keep up with the readings. Don't just rely on the PowerPoint lectures to get you through the class. Now, some of the legal terms at first, because you don't know them, might be difficult to understand. Therefore, you need to read the textbook chapters. There's my pitch for the book again. To fully understand some of those terms and to add, remember what I talked about, add some context to the subject matter. Now, in some cases, again, you might have to look up a word or a term on the internet, and I kind of told you how to do that. Use the penal code or a law dictionary. But if you have any problems at all with a concept, please let me know, and I will discuss the concept in the discussions area in Canvas. I'll do it for you, or you can post it there yourself. So it's not a super easy class by any means, and it's going to require some work on your part, but it's going to be really rewarding when you're done because you're going to gain a lot of practical knowledge as it relates to the guidelines of criminal evidence. So all those TV shows and movies and things that you watch and you see them collect stuff and get the evidence, and there's more to it than that. And this is going to help you get there. Now, one other thing that I'll post in your Canvas shell in each one of, I do my classes by weekly modules, and I'll explain that to you in a few minutes. But I will also put in every weekly module a sheet of definitions or key terms. And there'll be the term and the explanation of the term, if you will. So you'll be able to study those as well. So that stuff's going to be available for you. So with all of that being said, and now that we know the guidelines, what are my expectations? Well, I have some basic ones of you. So students in this course are going to participate in a variety of different activities that are going to help us achieve those learning objectives, those objectives we went over earlier. And to do that, there are 6 things that I truly believe are required or expected of you. So the first is to read the material. Go through the PowerPoints. Go through the lecture notes if I post lecture notes. Read the articles. Read your chapter in the textbook. Again, remember, that's my pitch again, 3rd or 4th time now for the textbook. Read the chapter to add context, to fill in the blanks. Number 2, viewing the weekly videos relating to the chapter. So I'm going to have PowerPoints with audio, just like you're watching right now, and maybe even some case studies. Every weekly module or every week that corresponds with the chapter, I'll have an introduction to the chapter that might have an article, a video. Now, those 2 things aren't mandatory, but the PowerPoint lecture is going to be mandatory, and that's going to be an audio version, or I'll even post it in a regular PowerPoint format if you don't want to hear me talk. I'll even have it closed captioned if you prefer that. So I'll give it to you in a couple of different ways, but it's important that you go through the PowerPoints and view the case studies. Number 3, participate in thoughtful and timely discussions via the discussion board. And we'll talk more about the discussion board in a little bit, but these are important because they truly do make you think. Discussion board questions are meant to make you think about and reflect on a topic, and sometimes the topics are a little bit controversial. So with that being said, we'll cover that in a few minutes, but timely discussions via the discussion board. Number 4, completing the online quizzes, and they're timed. Number 5, completing the timed exams, or the online exams, and they are timed as well. And finally, number 6, completing the midterm writing assignment. And this is really, really important as well. Now, one thing to notice, failure to participate in the discussion boards, or missing quizzes or exams, or failing to turn in any other assignments, or missing a combination of any of these things may cause you to be dropped from the class. So understand that online classes, while sometimes they're viewed as being a little bit easier, you really need to keep track of the dates. That's a very important way for you to be successful. So how do you know if you're ready for an online class? Well, I have a couple of links right here to help you gauge your online readiness. So first, I have a link right here to the MSJC online learning page, and this link will take you to that page, that website, that will give you some information to help you determine, hey, am I ready for an online class? It will help you learn how to navigate through a Canvas shell. And then down below it is a link to some video tutorials that actually walk you through some different things as it relates to online learning to make sure that you are truly ready to deal with an online class. So along with the online part, we need to spend a minute here talking about the responsibility of technology. Now, you need to know that you are responsible for your own computer equipment and internet connection independent of the campus. So with that being said, if something happens at the college and the internet goes down, then we'll make arrangements for that, or we'll give extra time, or we understand those type of issues. But if something happens to your computer, or you have some kind of problem, that's something on your end that you need to have a contingency plan for. So you need to plan your coursework to be able to accommodate some type of computer related issue. One big thing I'm just going to slip in there, don't wait till the last minute to do your assignments, because there's this weird thing out there called Murphy's Law, which basically means what can happen will happen. And with your luck, you log on at 10:45, your assignment's due at 11, and something happens to your computer and you can't finish the assignment. But my question to you will be, well, you had 6 days leading up to that, because I break them up, again, the assignments in weekly modules. So that, that's not really an excuse. Does that really make sense? And I hope it really does. So the fact that you have some issue isn't really going to be grounds for me to relax the deadline. You need to make sure that you have a backup plan, a friend, your parents, the library, etc. So there's that. Lastly, if you're unsure whether a transaction, a grade, or something has gone through, it's going to be your responsibility to kind of follow up and check on that. And we'll talk more about the grade book as we get towards the end of this particular lecture. So what I've also done for you is to put together some main components of Canvas. So these are the functions that are typically used in Canvas that I want you to pay attention to. They're the larger functions. So for you to be successful in this course, first of all, you need to check Canvas at minimum 2 times per week. You need to look in all areas to make sure that you're well informed about the assignments and related due dates. Navigate through Canvas when you log in, and take a look at how the course is set up so you have a good understanding of what it looks like in there. But we'll start off with modules. So the modules, this is where your weekly assignments are going to be located, and we're right here. And I will title each module so you know exactly which week it corresponds to. So for example, module 1 will be titled week 1, and week 1 will contain all of the assignments needed to complete week 1. So for this upcoming week 1, and I'll show it to you in more detail, you'll do the check-in, you'll do the discussion board, and you'll do the syllabus quiz. That's what you need to do. That's what's in that module. So each module, again, is going to contain the audio lectures, just the regular chapter PowerPoints, links to videos and articles, exams and quizzes, other related guides, and also the key terms. Remember I talked about the list of key terms that you need to study. And the goal for putting everything in one place is for you to be able to find everything easily without clicking around all over the place. It's all going to be centrally located. Next, we have discussions. This is where the discussions are going to occur on various topics. I will also, again, as I stated earlier, have a discussion board called the Donut Shop for general questions. Yeah, go figure on the Donut Shop. And you can post questions there, and if a student doesn't answer, then I will answer as well. And discussions can be found in the weekly module or in that separate link to the discussions area. And I'll show you what that looks like in a Canvas shell. It won't be the current class that you're going into for this fall semester. It will be the spring Aj103 online class, but it looks exactly the same. So that will help you, I'm sure. Next is announcements. This is where you're going to find announcements for the class, including relevant information on changes, exams, quizzes, etc. Next is the gradebook. The gradebook function is here listed in the gradebook link, if you will, and you can monitor your grades as they're posted. Now, if you don't see a grade in a certain area, you need to check and make sure that you turned in the assignment. If you're sure that you turned it in, then you can email me and say, hey, I don't know what happened. I did send this in, but I don't see my grade, and we'll figure it out. Extra credit. Keep in mind there's a separate area for extra credit. So this extra credit link, if you will, is where you're going to find the extra credit assignment. It's all spelled out in there. The one thing you do need to know is that the extra credit is date specific. So make sure that you read the assignment and take note of the dates. And it's going to be one of two things for this particular fall semester. It's either going to be, again, date specific, where you'll have a week or so to do it, or it's going to open up at the beginning of the semester and close towards the end. I haven't really decided that yet, but it's going to be one of those two things. You just need to know that it's date specific. So with that said, how are we going to learn all this stuff? Well, I have all the instructional methods here. There's lectures, there's audio lectures, PowerPoints, quizzes, exams, written assignments, research, reading assignments. All of this is going to help you in support of reaching those learning outcomes that we talked about a little bit earlier. If you do need some help, there is academic support available at to students at the Learning Resource Center on the campuses, or through the help desk. And for the online class, there's also online counseling, and I will show you in a little bit where that link is. So the school website, again, please check Canvas in your email twice a week for announcements, PowerPoints, assignments, changes, etc. It is your responsibility to monitor Canvas for any class assignments or changes. So just take a note of that. Code of conduct. So this is available for you in the MSGC catalog, or it's online. But where I really want to go for right now is to talk about this thing called netiquette. So because we're an online course and we're going to be using discussion boards, we need to know how to properly document things online. So netiquette is kind of the network etiquette, or the etiquette of cyberspace. And, it's basically a set of rules for how to behave online. And there's an author of the book called Netiquette. Her name is Virginia Shea, and she's defined the issues relative to this netiquette thing and discussed them in one of her books. And this link right here is to a kind of some of the core rules, a summary of what she has written. And they're not going to describe all the questions, but they do give you some principles on different etiquette rules that we should follow. And the main point for putting this in there is because these discussion boards, again, they're made to make you reflect. They could be controversial topics, whether it's seizure of evidence or use of force or really ugly photos, and can we get those admitted into evidence, or the death penalty, or searching, or different things like that. And you know what? We're all made different, and we all have different opinions. And really what we're trying to say here is that I need you to respect everybody's opinion. And that's how we learn in the discussion board process. Not just listening and believing what we say is the only answer, but taking feedback and information from others and pondering and thinking about that information, or maybe even researching the topic a little bit and then giving a response. And that's the part about netiquette that I want you to understand. So I also have a couple of other websites here. So if you need information on law, on Supreme Court, or again, the penal code, you can go to some of these websites. Now the important stuff, exams and quizzes. So the quizzes and exam questions are going to come directly from the textbook, the lecture, PowerPoints, the audio lectures, or designated articles or videos. Now each week you're going to have a reading assignment, again, the reason for the textbook, the lecture PowerPoint, and a short 10-question quiz covering that corresponding chapter. And there are basically 15 chapters that we're going to cover. So you're going to have 15 10-question quizzes. Now, in addition to that, there's going to be 3 chapter exams, and they're 50 questions each. You're going to have 4 discussion boards. The first is the check-in, and then a midterm writing assignment. So a little bit more, let's dig deep for just a second on the discussion boards, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. So the discussion boards, as I said earlier, they are reflective in nature, and they're meant to make you think about something, research it, consider perspectives, and then give a response. Now, you're going to have a total of 4 discussion boards. The first is the check-in, and each one of these is a graded assignment. It's worth up to 5 points, including your check-in. Now, when responding to the discussion board, make sure you read the information or watch the video, if there is one, and respond with what I would call a complete, well thought out response. Now, when I'm talking about a video or an article, sometimes when I post the discussion boards, I'll have a link to a video or an article. Now, they're not mandatory, but they do help add context. So watching those or reading those can't hurt. And then ponder the information and give me your thoughts. For a full point credit, your response must be at least 5 sentences long. Also, don't just copy somebody else's response and post it as your own, because that's not right. the more focused and thought-provoking the response, the more points you're going to get. So again, give me a small paragraph, like 5 sentences. Don't just say, I agree or similar. Tell me what you think. Now, with that said, feel free to comment on another student's post by saying, I agree or I don't agree, or what about this, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. But for your initial post, it needs to be complete and well thought out. So here's a couple of important factors and some helpful hints to be successful. So all lectures, the PowerPoints, the quizzes, the exams, the discussion info, and every other assignment, okay, except for the essay, is going to be posted and available on Wednesday nights. And all assignments are due by 11 p.m. on the following Tuesday night. So remember, we're going to make these weekly modules. We're gonna name them by week, so it'll be week 1, week 2, and everything you need is in there, and it has to be done during that time frame. So here's an example. Because it's an online class, and here's where we're reading right now, we're going to open it on Wednesday the 7th, and you'll have until Tuesday the 13th at 11 p.m. to do everything in the week 1 module. And what's in there? The discussion board check-in and the syllabus quiz. That's all you need for the first week. Does that make sense? And week 2 we'll have similar, week 3, and I'll show you what it looks like. So again, just kind of reiterating, all quizzes, exams, discussions, etc. for the week have to be posted in Canvas by the following Tuesday night at 11. So because of that, as a general rule, there are no makeup assignments. You have 6 days basically to complete each of the weekly assignments. Therefore, it's up to you to get the work done. Now, I know life happens. I know things happen. I know you have stuff going on. Emergencies are going to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Things like jury duty, military deployment, verified emergencies, etc. But just keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to make time for completing the assignments. Please, and you'll hear me say it ad nauseum, do not wait until the last minute to do your stuff. And while I will do my best to remind you of due dates, and you'll probably get tired of me doing it, it's still, at the end of the day, your responsibility to know when things are due and plan accordingly. So let me help you. Let me go through this part to help you to understand and give you some hints. So over the course of my teaching career, I have found that there are 3 main issues that I see with online students who have some problems. First is the inability to keep track of due dates. You need to be able to self-pace and regulate, meaning keeping track of the assignment due dates and not waiting until the last minute to get stuff done. Second, thinking that because there are so many assignments, missing a few won't matter. Well, actually it does, because missing assignments, the points add up kind of quick, and before you know it, you're a little bit behind. So if you miss a discussion board and 2 quizzes, that's 25 points. And yes, there's going to be an extra credit assignment, and yes, I'm going to try to throw in a couple of other goodies for you. But if I don't, how are you going to make up those points? So keep in mind that getting your assignments done is important. And then last, setting up your electronic devices to receive notifications or announcements once they're posted. Also, you need to note that on weeks that you have chapter exams, and you may also be required to do a short quiz. Actually, you will be. You're going to have a quiz basically every week. And because of that, there's going to be a week where you're going to have a quiz and you're going to have a chapter exam. If that happens, and there's only a couple of times that happens, do the quiz first. And the quizzes are there to help you be exposed to the content from each chapter. So if you do the quiz first, you get that exposure, and then you can take the chapter exams. So how are we going to grade it all? Well, here's the grading scale. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. It's self-explanatory, but I will talk about the amount of assignments that we have. So we're going to have 3 chapter exams, 50 questions apiece, so 50 points. Your third exam is the final. Your exams are not cumulative. So stuff you see in this chapter exam 3, you're not going to see anything from 2 or 1. It's just going to cover the chapters that are relative to this particular exam. Does that make sense? So it'll be like 5 chapters, 5 chapters, 5 chapters. Hopefully that helps. You'll have a midterm paper. You have a syllabus review. You have 4 discussion boards at 5 points apiece. You have the 15 quizzes. Your total is 360. And yes, don't forget, you'll have a 15 to 20 point extra credit assignment. It just depends. Remember, the extra credit assignment is either going to be date specific, and it'll be noted in the syllabus or in the modules at the start of the semester. I just haven't figured that out yet. Or it's going to open at the beginning and close towards the end. So, but you'll be notified on how that's actually going to work, and I will send out reminders as well. Also, here's some important dates. I'll let you look at this at your leisure. I don't need to go through all of that right there. Next topic, just letting you know that if there's something that I can do to help you be successful in this course, please let me know. I give you different accessibility methods like the PowerPoints. I'll give it to you in PowerPoint format. I'll turn the PowerPoint into a PDF document. I will also give you an audio version of the PowerPoint lecture, and then I'll give you an audio with closed caption. I'll do that with a lot of different things, so you'll have as many different ways to choose from. But if there's something that I can do to help you further, please let me know, because I want you to be successful in this course. Now, with that being said, here's the part that everybody doesn't like. The midterm assignment, the research paper. So your research paper is going to be on this particular case study. It's Florida versus Harris. I give you the 6 points that I want you to talk about, so I'm helping you out with a little bit of an explanation here. Here are some guidelines on the paper down below. But what I really want you to take a peek at is that I'm going to post in Canvas, in your Canvas shell, in that midterm essay module, and I'll show you what it looks like, an instructional video on how to complete your paper in the APA writing style. And the video is going to include examples on formatting, the cover page, the abstract, the reference page, along with a step-by-step guide on how to cite and how to format your reference page. And all the information for the midterm writing assignment, again, can be found in the module titled Midterm Essay. If you need additional help on the writing paper, you can go to the library where there's some handouts on APA format. But again, I will help you with this by that video that I'm going to post. And also, there's going to be some information on how to upload your paper as well. And speaking of that, that brings us to the last of our subjects, if you will, talking about plagiarism. And without going into the big definition, this is where you take a portion or even a small part of a sentence or text from an article, a story, a paper, without giving the author credit, without acknowledging the source, and using quotes if it's a quote that you ended up borrowing from a paper. And even copying just a little word or copying something and changing a word or two is still technically plagiarism. Now, if you need more info, I have a website right here at plagiarism.com that you can look at, but I have some rules of thumb for you to follow. If you didn't think of it yourself, it's not common knowledge. Cite it. If in doubt, cite it, because you can't go wrong. And I have some other steps to kind of guide you through the process. But that video that I was talking about on how to write your paper, it's going to talk about how to do the cites and how to do the reference page. So if you follow that, you're going to be on target. Everything's going to be wonderful. Don't be afraid. You're awesome, and I know it. Now, here we go. So what's the course look like as far as like how it goes? Remember we talked about the modules in weeks? So again, here's week 1. It's that weird week where we're opening early, but it opens on the 7th, closes on the 13th. Remember, opens at 5, closes at 11 p.m. And here's what we're going to do. Week 2 opens on Wednesday the 14th at 5, closes on August 20th at 11 p.m. we're going to cover chapter 1, which is Introduction to Criminal Evidence. There's going to be the lecture, the reading assignments, all the stuff like that. There's going to be an introduction into the chapter, and you're going to have a quiz on chapter 1. Now that's it for week 2. You still need to read the textbook and do the other stuff if there is other stuff. Okay, but this is typically how it's going to go. Everything is by weeks. Week 5, look here. You have 2 graded assignments. We're going to do chapter 4. Yes, it's the lecture, the reading, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have the quiz on the chapter, and you're going to have your second discussion board. And let's go down to where there's a chapter exam. So look at week 6. Remember I talked about sometimes there might be a chapter exam with a quiz? Well, week 6, we're going to cover chapter 5. That's the lecture, the reading, the blah, blah, blah. Then there's going to be the weekly quiz on chapter 5. And then you're going to take your chapter exam, which is going to cover chapter 1 through 5. Does that make sense to everybody? Then you can go down here, and here's the chapters again that we're going to cover with the different exams and what have you. And then right here is the midterm writing assignment. And that's how it goes. And you can see how it's going to go all the way down through the whole thing. So real quick, I want to take one last moment, and I want to go through what the modules look like. So I'm going to slide this over here really quick. This is the spring Aj103 online class, so it's not yours, but it's very similar, and it looks pretty much the same. Over to the left right here, so this is the home page, and you can't see the whole thing, but that's okay. But over here are your links. You have announcements, assignments, and yours might look different than mine. Okay, but understand that as we go and we look through some of this, the syllabus, that's where you'll find the syllabus. Your grades, that's where you'll find the grades. Discussions, you can access the discussion board through here or through the modules. This is the main part where I want you to go to. So if we click on modules, it's going to take you to the modules. And the first thing that you'll see at the top is online counseling. So if you need some help, you can go here. This is the home page, the welcome page, and you may see this on your end or you may not. I do have information on the Criminal Justice Club, and there's some information. I got some cool websites here about evidence like Homicide Hunter and Forensic Files and First 48 and stuff like that. I have the Bill of Rights. These are videos on the Bill of Rights. They're very important for you to know, especially in the realm of criminal evidence. A couple of key Supreme Court cases that would be good for you to read about or watch the video. This section is really important that you go through. If you click on the Please Read link, it'll cover some information that we covered tonight in this syllabus review, but it'll also go in a little bit more detail on how to be successful. It'll have some fast facts and info on the Criminal Justice Club. Now, because this is a different class, the calendar year is wrong, but yours will be right. It'll be the 2019 to 2020 calendar. Some videos on how to use Canvas. And then here, the midterm essay. Remember I talked about that it has its own module? Now, when you view this, it might look like a folder, but in there are going to be these different things. And oh, look, they had the same paper that you did. So it's Florida versus Harris. If you click on that, it opens up the assignment, and it might have some reading and some links and things for you to look at. There's a audio version of the PowerPoint lecture, kind of like what we're doing right now. There's an audio version here of the PowerPoint lecture with closed captioning. So these are the things that talk about how to do your essay. Remember I talked about the audio version on how to write your essay? Here's the same thing with just the slides. Here's an example paper, the writing rubric, which tells you how it's going to get graded, and how to upload your paper. Now, if you look at week 1, remember we saw week 1 on the actual written syllabus, but week 1, that's the title of this weekly module. It's going to have an introduction. It's going to have the audio version and a closed caption audio version of the syllabus review. That's what we're doing right now. It's going to have the discussion board check-in. It'll have the syllabus review quiz, and then a couple of court videos that I would suggest that you watch. That's how it's located in week 1. If you look at week 2, it's going to have an introduction to the first chapter. It might have a video. It might have an article. Here's the terms. It'll have key terms for you to study. Here's the PowerPoint lecture in just PowerPoint form. Here's the PowerPoint lecture in a PDF doc. And here's the lecture in audio version, just like I'm doing right now, just like you were in a classroom. It's a standard audio version and an audio version with closed captioning, and then your quiz. So hopefully that makes sense, and you can go down through. Let me go to one that shows an extra assignment. So if we go to week 5, remember we looked at it on the written syllabus, but you can see it's the introduction to the chapter. It's got the terms, the PowerPoints, the audio versions, a couple of different. You have the discussion board 2, and then you have the chapter 4 quiz. And then if we go to 6, this is the last kind of thing to show you. We're going to do chapter 5, the terms, the 2 PowerPoints, the audio version and the standard audio of the lecture, the quiz, and then the exam. So hopefully that visually gives you a look at how things are going to be set up in there. But I would suggest that when you log on, you go through this in order to get a better visual understanding on where things are at within there. Now, with that being said, that's going to conclude our lecture on the syllabus review. I hope it was helpful. And while the syllabus review is for the fall 2019 semester, I'm actually recording this in the summertime before the semester, so I'm going to leave you with what I'm going to be doing in the summer. So with that, that's the end of the lecture. Have a great summer, even though by the time you're looking at this, it's already going to be fall. Take care. Until next time.